Welcome along to the SGA Roadmap Webinar. My name is Sam Green-Armitage. I am the Operations Officer here at the Sports Governance Academy. Today, just to give you a brief overview of what we're going to look at, we're going to have a quick introduction from our panel this morning, and then we're going to go into a demo of the roadmap tool, how you may want to use it, what it would be useful for, and that will be followed by a panel discussion with our panelists, with a little bit of time for a Q&A at the end, and we'll hopefully be able to all get you out in time for lunch at 1. But obviously, if you do want to hang around and ask some questions, I will definitely be on the line, and yeah, we will be able to hopefully answer those for you. So just quickly, if you can't see the links in chat, if you've just joined a bit later, we will be running a networking event in a couple of weeks' time for the relaunch of the Huddle, which is our online forum, which I'd highly recommend you take a look at. And if you'd like to sign up for that, I'll pop the link in chat for you now. So apologies, we were just in a room on our own for a moment, so I'm going to ask you to do this again, Ruth. Welcome all of you. I'm going to go along the line in terms of who I see first. So Ruth, would you mind introducing yourself to our guests today?
Sure. Thanks, Sam, and thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm Ruth Miller. I'm Head of Business Planning at British Cycling. I guess in terms of governance, what does that translate as? So I did lead us through our Code for Sports Governance Compliance and all the actions that I guess we took out of that, which is including now us looking hard at our regional structure, which is the next thing to do, which is going to be great. And I know I've spoken to some of you about that. And the other thing, we're evolving our group structure, so setting up a charitable foundation. Also sit as the director of a football CIC called Fair Game, and I'm also in the advisory board of the Sports Governance Academy itself. And I'll pass over to Jess, who I can see next.
Thanks, Ruth, and yeah, hi everybody. I'm Jess. I'm the Head of Governance and Compliance and Company Secretary at BUCS, which is British Universities and Colleges Sport. So we are a membership organisation and a charity who facilitate competition across the UK with universities as our members. So my role in terms of governance looks at both company compliance with the Sport Governance Code and the Charity Governance Code, but also looks at the sport governance side of things as well. So working with the team, look at all the rules and regulations across the 55 sports and dealing with conduct and promoting best practice in terms of conduct across the competitions as well. I'll hand to Tim.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Ruth. Thanks, Sam, too, as well. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining the call, and thanks for the opportunity, Sam, to be part of this group. My name's Tim Lawler. I'm Chief Executive of SportsAid. That's a national charity, recognises and helps emerging talented athletes across 50 or 60 different sporting disciplines. The charity turns 50, next year, 2026. And that organisational change in recent years has been part of the reason that myself as Chief Executive has taken a governance role within the organisation. That's my responsibility. That's the day job. I'm chair of the LTA Tennis Foundation, so as a kind of non-exec position, which is probably not irrelevant to this call. And that's been a really interesting exercise from a governance perspective too as well. Part of the advisory group with the SGA and also a member of the Talent Inclusion Advisory Group. So sounds as if I'll be giving out a lot of advice. I won't, but they're positions of responsibility that I really cherish, and I hope that you'll get a reflection of that today. So thanks very much for being involved.
Fabulous. Thank you, everyone. So just before I launch into the tool, I'm just having a look at the poll. Which parts of our offering have you engaged with? If you want to access that, there should be an option for polls at the top. But it looks like most people have engaged with our training, followed by our webinars, which we're all on today. If this is your first one, welcome along. The knowledge base, which is the home of all of our tools and advice and the written documents. So if you prefer to engage with stuff that way, then that's great. Conference is also showing up quite high. And maybe on the lower side, we've got our networking events, our other website resources, and the Board Development Fund as well. So we will look to cover that, as that is a great tool. We've just had our first application window closed. So just to warn you as well, this is being recorded. We will upload this to our website and our YouTube channel. So if you've got any questions you want to ask, but don't want your face to be, you don't want to say it out loud because you don't want to be on the recording, please use the Q&A tool. So that should be up there with the chat. No worries if someone's not seen the poll, but we will do a poll at the end as well. So please ask questions using the Q&A tool rather than the chat, as we'll see it, and it'll be a bit more orderly there. And you can upvote questions that you like in there as well. So, and if you don't mind being in the recording, please feel free to use the raise hand button. So, one moment, I will just make sure I've got my screens in order. It will share my screen. Sharing screen over there. So forgive me if I don't look like I'm looking at you. I'm just looking at the other screen. So for those of you that haven't downloaded the tool yet, no worries. We're going to walk you through how to get it. So there's two ways of accessing the tool. The first one is through the homepage on the website. So if you scroll down, you can see the SGA roadmap here. Can I just get a thumbs up to see everyone seeing it? Fabulous. So if we click here, you have two options. So we recommend you use the Microsoft PowerPoint app, not the web app, the actual on your computer one. However, if you don't have it, we have made one that is friendly for Google Slides. The functionality isn't all there, but it is mostly, and you'll be able to get all of the information. So what we need to do is, I'm in Chrome at the moment. So if you're in Edge, we'll just cover that in a sec. But if you just click download file, it should appear in your downloads up here, and we'll load it from there. But I'll just do that in a moment, as if not, please go to Google Slides, which you can launch from here. And then all you need to do is click slideshow up the top here to launch it. But just going back 1 second, if you are in Edge and you're using a company device, the other way of accessing it is through our knowledge base. So if we go to learning, sorry, not learning, we go to resources and knowledge base, we will scroll down to the bottom, and here it is. So you can then access the download instructions there too. And if you click download file on a work device, this may come up. What we highly recommend you doing is just clicking download here or download file up the top here, as that will help you launch in. So before I load it up on my screen, is anyone having any, I'm just going to check the chat, is anyone having any issues accessing this? I'll give it 10 or 15 seconds just to check that everyone can go on it. And if not, I will carry on. So I'm just going to load it up now. One second. I share my screen. There we go. So are you all seeing a big SGA Learning Community Roadmap sign? Wonderful. So I'm looking back at you now, so that's better. So welcome to this tool. Oh, someone's got their hand up. Go for it. Go for it, Deb. Oh, no, maybe not. No worries. So what we'll do is, if you want to watch along for now, and we'll do this first, and then we will get on to any questions. So this is built in PowerPoint, so you may be familiar with the interface. However, what you will notice is that you don't have the access to skip slides. So if I click on the screen, I don't know if you can hear my mouse, I can't skip slides. And if you're familiar with the menu in the bottom left-hand corner, that isn't there either. So you do need to use the buttons on screen. So I've tried to make it quite nice and clear. So if we click the chevrons to continue. So part of why we created this tool was because we were getting questions from people around how different elements of our offering interacted with one another. And also we had many people who are maybe, doing a lot of the training courses, but weren't aware of the other parts of our offering. So we were finding that we would talk about these other elements in the training courses, for example, and we'd be met with a lot of blank stares because they didn't know about these areas. And this is what we found through feedback as well. So we wanted to make a tool. So originally it was a document, but then we realized probably this might not be the most useful because it might be a bit overwhelming. So we've made it into a tool so you can map where your level is, and then you can find the right thing for you, given, you know, your time commitments that you may have or your specific circumstances. So we've used CGI's competency framework. You can access this. This is a link, it's a clickable link, so you can look at that a bit more if you want to know a bit more about it. But we've derived it from there and adjusted it for a sports governance audience. So again, you'll find that you need to click these chevrons whenever you see them to continue. So we've got some instructions here. So if you haven't already, load this up as a slideshow in Microsoft PowerPoint. It should automatically launch as one, but depending on your organization's security settings, this may or may not happen. So on the home page, there'll be buttons that look like this. They're the ones you need to click on. And then once you're inside a section, you can click on the individual items themselves. This is so you can sort of delve into an area before finding out all the information. And then if you want to find out more information about something, you can click the little eye, the information icon, and to close a window or navigate back, you can use the cross buttons. Use the chevrons to navigate left and right, and use the arrows to navigate up and down. So, and if you are in this and you go, oh my gosh, that's taking up my whole screen, I can't leave it, please use the Windows key to access your taskbar if you just want to do that. Or if you want to close the tool, you can use the escape key as well. And if you're on multiple screens, lucky you, you can see other things as well, so you're not quite trapped in it. So moving on. So what we've done is we've created two kind of definitions for roles, because the responsibilities and skills you may need as a governance role may be slightly different to a board member, and how you interact with our tools may differ as well. So what we've done here is that we get you to select your roles. We've got some examples. Please fit this to the closest to your definition, but we want to let you self-select on all of these. So if, for example, I select board member in this case.
Getting just goes, doesn't it?
Oh, sorry, I think someone's got their microphone on. Just mute them. There we go. You can then click which level you might want to start with. So we're currently under board member here, and we can go along to click emerging. So we'll start there. So this will give you a brief idea of what the emerging definition is. Feel free to navigate between them here. So if you think, oh, maybe this sounds slightly below the level I am, you can then step up to established and see if that fits you. And then maybe you click the wrong one, or you have both board member roles and governance roles. So you might have an internal role somewhere and be a board member somewhere else, as is the case with, for example, Ruth on this call. You can then switch over to the governance role to have a look at that. So once you're done, we've got some instructions here. Click the cross in the top right-hand corner to close this explainer. So welcome to the roadmap. As the little mouse over here has prompted us, we can click on these buttons at the top and down the side. If you want to go back to definitions, you can click this information icon here. And if you want to go back to the start, you can click this information icon here if you've forgotten the instructions. So what we're going to start, we're going to go through the whole offering, and then we're going to look at how you might want to use it yourself. So just starting up with our training courses, we will, it gives you a brief definition of how they work. And then if we go into them, if we want to go back to the definition, we can use this, but then we can click on one of the options. So Essential Sports Governance, I'm sure some of you on this call have attended this before, as it's our most attended course. But it gives a brief explanation of the course and when you should attend this course. So we recommend that it's definitely aimed at entry and emerging levels, and it can be relevant for people at established levels. So this will give you a guide as to when maybe you should look at doing it, because yeah, if you're at an entry level and you're looking for a great overview of the importance of sports governance, how to implement it well, this would be good for you. But if it's maybe not quite relevant to your role yet, you might want to wait a little bit to take it. And likewise, if you're established, the reason why it's half in is to indicate that maybe it's not designed for that level, but might be a good way of getting some formal learning to back up your skills. We also have call to action buttons here, which you can click, and that will take you to the website. So if I just click that, this will likely come up on your computer, because PowerPoint doesn't. We'll try and flag links for you. If you just click yes, it will load it up in your default browser. So once you've had a look at one of these, you can navigate between them, and we've put them kind of in order as to kind of what the levels at which you take them. This isn't saying you should take them in this order. We've just tried to make it look a bit more aesthetically pleasing, and you can just navigate your way across. And those which are able to be booked do have the button in the corner, and we will update this on the website as of when, if new courses are added, taken away, you'll be able to have that option. So I hope that all makes sense. But yeah, they've all got little definitions as to when we think might be appropriate for you. As they were the most well attended, I feel as though I hope that you kind of are somewhat familiar with these. Just a quick note as well, I know we do have a couple people dialing in from abroad. Our training courses are only open to those in the UK sport and physical activity sector. And then if we move over to our certification accreditation and our board training, this is also the case for these, but we will get something you can access in a second. So what we have here is we have our level 4 certificate in sports governance. So we run a bursary scheme for this. So if I just click on it, which you can apply for, this opens around late summer. We're just confirming updates for this year as to when you can attend it. But if you do want to apply, you can click the link or go to our website, and you'll be able to sign up for our waitlist for this. So we'll get in touch when it opens, but you'll also receive these comms using our mailing list as well if you're subscribed to that. And again, we have some ideas as to when we think you should maybe apply for it. If we move across, there are further CGI governance qualifications. So if you want to look at becoming chartered, for example, CGI offer multiple different pathways into this. And unfortunately, we can't fund this, so you would have to either self-fund or get your organisation to, but you can find entry routes here, and I'm sure someone from CGI will be happy to speak to you if that's something you're interested in doing in the future. Moving across, I noticed in the poll, probably one of the least ones that people engage with, our board development fund. So we're running 2 application windows this year. We've just closed the first one, and the second one will be opening, off the top of my head, I think it's mid-July. But all those details can be found on our website. And this is a great opportunity to get in-house training for your board. So instead of, maybe attending training courses in dribs and drabs, maybe the ones who are more engaged will attend more, and the ones who are less will. It's a great chance of getting everyone up to speed on a certain topic. So we have 12 different courses you can apply for. And we really highly recommend this for your board. We have lots of resources on how to apply, how to best write your application, as we do for the certificate as well. And yeah, what it consists of and what it's not. So, and this can be applicable to any level of board. So it might be that you're a very entry level, you might have a very inexperienced board that needs just to get to grips with the basics of sports governance, or you might have a very well equipped board, very experienced, high functioning, that is, just looking to go from great to even better, or there's one area that they maybe a little bit unsure on, and that's maybe the key to unlock just further benefits. And again, you can apply using the link here. So we just close out of that. Finally, in terms of our offering, we have our community learning and events and our website resources. These are open to anyone to access. We welcome anyone on any of these. So starting off in the community learning and events, we have our networking events. So we're hosting an online one in a couple of weeks, which we'd encourage you to attend, but most of these are normally in person. We normally do one the night before our conference, which leads me nicely onto our annual conference. This normally takes place around November. We're very, very close to announcing a venue and a date for this, but we're not quite there yet, but we're very excited to share this with you once we can. This is a great event. You can attend in person or online, and we have full functionality, and we also take recordings of the events in case you're not able to be with us on the day. We've got our webinars, as you are in today. We often discuss timely and relevant governance topics. Today we're just discussing how you can use the SGA, but normally we will have people on. So for example, our most recent one with external speakers was on Dr. Chris Gunn's 7F framework that he's made for community governance. We also have the huddle. As I mentioned at the start, if you're joining us a little bit late, we have relaunched our online community forum. We really want to hear from you in it. It's brand new, so there aren't tons of posts in it. So please go and post, ask your questions, respond to people's answers, even if it's just to say, I'd also like to know this, to encourage someone else to give the answers. We really want to hear from you on this, as this is a space for you guys. We will post periodically about new things that we're doing, but it's a space for you primarily. Finally, our newsletter, which you can register for, and we also send through our communications about when things are opening and closing. So in terms of engaging, we encourage anyone to attend and get involved in the huddle. So whatever level you're at, you can come along. And if you are maybe more like a established or expert level, and we do have some emerging people come along as well, we would love to hear from you and speak at our events. So if you have done something that you think is noteworthy in governance, please do get in contact with us, because you could either maybe speak at one of our events, or if you prefer, or you think it would be a better avenue to do so, you can either write a blog post for us, or write an essay, or again, contribute to the knowledge base if you're a real specialist in an area. So again, we've got our knowledge base, which is our bank of resources online. We've got our blog posts, which are mostly done by the community, and they offer tips about certain areas. So if you've done, these include case studies. So if you think you've done a case study, we'd love to hear from you. We try and stay across what people are doing, but we don't necessarily know about stuff that's happened internally that maybe hasn't been massively communicated outwards. So if you think you've done something really relevant to sports governance, and you're proud of it and want to share about it, please get in contact with us by email, and we would be very happy to discuss writing a blog post. Finally, we've got the essays, which are deeper dives into our relevant topics, and also our supporting tools and documents, which can be found on our website. These are great. These include checklists and supporting tools and template documents. So what I'd recommend you doing is getting on that page, typing Control F, which will search for things on the page, and just searching for what you need, because it might just be there. And if it's not, please get in contact with us, and we will see if we can make one. So that's that. If we click the cross in the top corner. So that was just an introduction to our offering. So what we want to do next is go into how you may want to use this. So you've worked out what level you are based on our information here. So you've chosen, oh yeah, I'm a governance role. I think emerging sounds like a bit of me. So I'm going to, bank that information in your head. If you want to write it down, write it down. And then we'll go into this, and then you'll click on emerging, which will take us in here. So this will show all the tools which we would recommend for you to take at that level. So there's essential sports governance, effective minute taking, chairing workshops. So if we just click on this one, you might have a read of this, go, oh, I don't know if this is relevant to me. You can read our emerging level here. So you want to understand more about the role of chair, what it entails to help your progression, or you've been asked to chair something soon. So these might be great to come along to if you're about to chair something, or if you go, actually, no one's been asking me to chair anything, and I probably recently am emerging, maybe not pushing up to established yet. Maybe it might be something that you attend in the future. Likewise, going along to leading sports governance here. So it's just in emerging, because it's maybe for those who are sort of trying to push on to establish. Maybe you're looking for a different governance role, or your responsibilities have been increased. So you want to sort of further that a little bit more. And then you can go across as you like to find these. Just to give you an idea, these definitions and text blurbs are just the same as we saw previously. So I won't spend much time on these, but we wanted to make it nice and easily accessible for you all. So if you look at these and go, oh, maybe I'm sort of straddling emerging and established, you can use these arrows to navigate up and down to see what may also be relevant. So if we go up to expert, you can see the very top of things and what may be relevant, and you can also go down to entry. So, right, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you for listening to me natter on a little bit. We hope that was useful. If anyone, before we go on to our panel discussion, I'm just going to first of all launch another poll. I'll close the first one. Sorry, my laptop's just taking a moment. Maybe if that loads, but if not, just before we go on to panel discussion, has anyone got any questions about the tool itself? Please use the raise hand button or the Q&A as well. Launch the poll now. So I'm just looking at the Q&A. It will load. So I'm just looking at the poll as well. So there's no question in the Q&A yet. Looks like a few people are interested in the certificate of sports governance. I'll check the chat. See if there's anything in there. Looks like it's just the poll, unless I can see anything else. But no, I'll leave that poll open for the rest of you. If you'd like to share in there, please do. But yeah, it's looking like the certificate in sports governance is. I'm just going to move. Sorry, I'll just close that. And right. So as there's no questions on that. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to. Sorry, I'm having a couple of laptop issues. There we go. So right, we'll try that again. So again, so now we've got our panel discussion. So yeah, opportunity to hear from people in different roles. Just two people we've got along. We've got Jess, who's head of governance and compliance and company secretary at Bucks, in case you're joining us. Ruth is head of business planning at British Cycling and chief operating officer and director at Fair Game UK. So straddles both of those two areas. And Tim is the CEO of Sports Aid and chair of the Tennis Foundation. So just as a starter for 10, and we'll start with you, Jess. Would you mind telling us a bit about how you started in governance and what got you into it?
Yeah, of course. I guess you could probably sort of say I fell into governance a little bit. So my, I guess, like university background was in sports science, focused majority of that around like the technical science side of things, looking at it more from a biochemistry angle. So never in a million years doing that did I expect to be working in governance. But after university, I was working in the sports sector, in the chartered body for sport, but working in membership admin. And this was in a time when you had to be it was pre-COVID, had to be in the office 5 days a week, which was really, really great because I guess that's how I ended up getting into it. So after I'd finished the sort of memberships work, I would just walk around the office and be like, right, has anybody got anything that I can get involved in? And nobody wanted to write the GDPR policies. So I was like, yes, I will do that. So started off with GDPR and then got given the opportunity around COVID to work on a piece of policy and guidance around like delivering sport and physical activity online. And I think that's when I sort of first saw through governance actually how governance tends to operate in the background, right? But actually through the power of what we're able to produce can help so many people. So yeah, after doing that, then just sought out opportunities to engage around like supporting the development of subcommittees of the board. And this was all alongside, I'd moved into partnerships work at this time. And then there was actually an opportunity for a governance officer role. So I applied for that and was successful in securing the role of governance officer. And then it was, I guess, in that role that sort of my formal education in governance started. So I was lucky enough to be supported to undertake the Chartered Governance Institute foundation in governance qualification. But then alongside that, because of, I guess, the nuances of governance in sport, I undertook every single course that the SGA had available. And yeah, to help really, I guess, ground that knowledge of governance in the sports sector. So yeah, very happy to still be in governance now, even though I guess I didn't expect to be here.
No, fab. Cheers, Jess. And yeah, for those of you that also aren't aware, I'm going to slightly throw you under the bus here, Jess. Jess was recently the winner of our Want to Watch award at our conference last November. So no, and it's great to hear the perspective of someone who has had the SGA as a, you know, something to support them in their work, which we will look at in a moment. But yeah, if Tim, if you could tell us a bit more about how you started in governance. Sorry to take you by surprise there.
No, that's fine. Yeah, and thanks, Jess. Weirdly, I've got a biochemist background as well, so it'd blow my mind if Ruth does too. But that's coincidence, I'm sure. I think it's an interesting journey a little bit, and you might not necessarily expect the chief exec to be a lead on governance for an organization, but I think ultimately there's a responsibility theme that I think will come out of the discussion that we've got today. So I suppose I'd link it a little bit to the journey that safeguarding's been on the last 10 or 20 years, where effectively it's everyone's responsibility, but you just have a few lead people and a lead focal point or captains of the team, if you like, and taking responsibility. So that's definitely happened from my perspective. Organizational change through the organizations I've worked at has meant that if there's been a conspicuous gap in what you might call governance, then that needs to be addressed. And really governance, I think we're talking about it being processes and procedures and rules and practices, but it's way more than that. It's quite intuitive. And so on that basis, I think I've been drawn towards it because and maybe similar to Jess, I'm looking for responsibility. I think I don't necessarily want to be a leader, but I'm quite happy with responsibility. And I think governance is part of that aspect. So that's why I've migrated towards it, I think, a little bit more. And I would say you need to be deliberate about it. And so that was one of the things that attracted me to it, that would take on a responsibility to think about governance in a deliberate way rather than kind of bumble on with it. So not at all perfect. I don't think Sports Aid is necessarily a shining light, but I would say that the journey that we've been on is a great example about embracing good governance, and the SGA have been invaluable in that. The other bit I might add, and I don't want to bang on, Sam, is just that it's daunting. And I think people can roll their eyes a little bit. It's a big elephant to eat. So I think just people accepting that it will never be perfect and the goalposts are always going to be on wheels. You know, things are going to keep moving the whole time. So don't be daunted if you're taking on a governance role or responsibility, in the sense that it will keep moving, but you've just got to be adaptable with it, I think, and persistent.
Yeah, no, cheers, Tim. Thank you for the real deep your real deep answer, and it's great to hear your perspectives as well. Ruth, how about yourself? How did you get into governance?
Close but no cigar, Tim. I'm not a biochemist, but my first degree was physiotherapy, so I do echo some of what Jess said and yourselves about, you know, journeys and kind of where you started and where you've ended up. So yeah, that was my degree. Passionate about sport, wanted to get into sport, but not be a physio. So I did a 12-month sabbatical at University of London running sports leagues, and I guess through that then I guess where I saw the opportunity and plus skill sets and alignment with, I guess, values and what I thought I wanted to do, then kind of this was kind of it in some regards, in terms of setting really good foundations, or actually being able to deliver change from sort of the ground up. But I suppose as I sort of journeyed on for a few years, working for different organisations, I went back and did a master's. I took a year out and did an MBA. And through that, then chose every kind of, you know, academic research opportunity or project to look at some aspect of sport. And governance was the thing I kept coming back to. And I guess just reading a lot around some of the academic work at that time, and then looking at the landscape across the UK, then it looked like, yeah, there was a challenge there and there was an opportunity. And I probably had some of it and could develop the skill set to do something interesting in that space. So I guess that's where I came into it from. And I'd say that I don't wake up in the morning and think that I'm a governance professional. And I think that's what some of it, what Tim alluded to, is that this is a collective responsibility, and you don't need a legal degree to lead in this space either. And yeah, I'm sure you've got some other questions that could draw that out some more in future, Sam. But yeah, I think for me, it's what is governance, and it's about leading, it's about being robust, yes, but it's about having great stakeholder relations as well. And those are kind of the three buckets that I always think about sports governance and good sports governance in, and that's really helped me frame, I suppose, my approach over the years.
No, fab. Thank you very much, Ruth. And just to go back to you, Jess, I know you mentioned that you went along to the SGA trainings. Would you mind just telling us a bit more about how those supported you in your governance work and sort of anything else, how you engage with the SGA?
Yeah, of course. So I think in the first context, like one, it was just in a really digestible format. So actually, it was the additional governance knowledge in the context of sport that you could do in an accessible way, but that you also then met people in the room that were in similar situations as well. So not only did it give the content, but it also then gave you that network. And I think for me, especially in the first instance, that safe space to ask the questions and not be afraid to like put yourself out there a little bit and be like, right, okay, can you just explain this a little bit more, or actually what does this mean? So that forum for not being afraid, like I always say no question is a silly question, but sometimes it can feel quite daunting to ask those questions. So I think as well as the content, I think yeah, definitely having that network and that safe space to engage in conversation and wider conversation around it. And then what I did, like after I'd done those courses, I was then a massive advocate for it for people within the team, because I'd get, governance is something that people probably don't always talk about, right? Because to I think Tim's point, like it can seem quite daunting and inaccessible, whereas actually once people understand what it is and everything that comes with governance, then actually it can be a really exciting thing to get to know about. So rather than almost it just being me relaying this information to people about the power of governance, I was like, well, actually, there's great courses over here, like go and do that. And then you start to build that network of people within the business as well that have the level of understanding and have that shared experiences. So yeah, I think the courses were really, really helpful for that. I also really liked the huddle, so very, very glad to see that being back, because I think especially in the way that we work now, and a lot of organisations have switched to working from home and not necessarily in shared spaces with other organisations. Like actually being, I think for me being fairly early in my career in governance, I haven't necessarily got the wide network of contacts that I can just reach out to, if I've got a question, or very often we're all working towards the same thing, right? And we've all gone through the same challenges. So why reinvent the wheel if somebody's got best practice that's that they've already done? So I think the huddle, now that that's back, I will definitely be on there. And just doing that, I guess that networking piece, having that platform to ask questions and really build that network. So that's been really valuable, I think, for me from a personal perspective. But then I guess from a more of a business perspective, probably Sam, is the board development fund. So at Books, we're a charity and a membership organisation, and a significant amount of our expenditures around the competition side of things and ensuring the experiences that we're providing for students and universities through that. So actually the opportunity to access the board development fund, but also to have that. So we were lucky enough to get that last year, but to have the ability to tailor that, I think what was really valuable to us is that it's not, I guess, like an off-the-shelf product that we were getting with that. The deliverer met with us, understood where we were at as an organisation, because our training was around risk and risk appetite, and we were really quite early in that journey. So we met with us, completely understood where we were at, and then was able to tailor the delivery to what we needed to get out of the session. So that was really, really well received by the board, and just supported us in terms of the place that the organisation's in, giving us the opportunity to still promote development and enhancement, even if we don't have the financial to support that at the time. So yeah, I guess I've access to from a personal and a business perspective, and both have been really, really valuable.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jess. And it's great to hear someone's perspective of someone who's kind of come into the space as about when we started existing. So we've kind of always been there. I don't know. I know that covered a lot of it, and I've just got my eye on the time, just so we've got time to ask questions. But I don't know if there's anything, Ruth and Tim, you wanted to add that you've engaged with that maybe Jess hasn't, that you wanted to pick up on.
Go on, Tim.
No, you go, Ruth. Go.
I was going to say I jumped in with the leadership in sports governance, which is great. Even as just, I don't say just a refresher, but it had the networking elements, and Jess has articulated really well. But also you're every day's a school day for me, and you'll pick up something, even though if like you think, or also, or even just to reinforce some of the things that you think you're doing right, or maybe just want a bit of validation around. So that was good. Also did one of the later modules in the certificate course, and the chairing masterclass was really good because at that point I wasn't chair of a board, and I'm still not, but I had a chat with the guys, and there actually ended up being a really good mix of us in the room. So I've done a lot of chairing of meetings and project boards and project meetings, but that didn't matter. It's the same skill set, and actually having a chair in the room of a board as well as a couple of us who were in kind of similar boats and was just really good. So just shared skill sets over different roles as well was really valid. Done all the network, took every opportunity at the networking, so conferences, members events, etc., making those count as well. And yes, echoed just about the huddle. So it's back, and I guess a challenge to all of us on the call as being advocates for that, maybe. And I've certainly started trying to type some replies and questions on there to just sort of start to stimulate the environment for others as well. And looking forward, then looking at board development fund maybe next time for either the charitable round or the football head on. And yeah, I will get round to thinking about what best I could contribute in terms of a blog or a story as well, is my challenge to myself. So, Tim.
Thanks, Ruth. Sam, some great points, Jess, as well. I think the standout for me would be perspective. I think the interactions I've had with the SGA in various forms are a constant reminder of the different stages all organisations and perhaps individuals within them are at from a governance perspective. And I think it's really important that there's some degree of empathy to understand that evolving structure within governance too as well. That there's no given right that someone that had a governance role will transfer all of their knowledge to their next successor in the organization. And so that kind of relearning, Jess's point about there being no such thing as a silly question, the common ground that you can find in any of these things, whether it's a training seminar, you're looking at the resources, or you're attending events, or even through the huddle as it's reincarnated. I think I would absolutely encourage that for sure. And from my perspective, I can get bogged down in like my challenges and just see it in my silo and only think it's about sports aid and a bit woe is me about what we need to do to up our game, when actually it's fantastic to just get the odd 360 views on different challenges, perspectives on problems and solutions. And it just builds confidence. And I think, the daunting nature of what governance can be, your founding principle has got to be the relationships that Ruth mentioned, but the confidence to persist. It's to keep persisting because it will keep evolving and it'll never be complete. Good governance is definitely that journey cliche. It is a journey and it's an attitude and it's an intent. So when all of those things are missing, then you've definitely got some risks. But I think if the intent is there and you're on that journey, then forward, and each of us will move at different paces to others. And I think the SGA creates that forum to be reminded of that. So I would certainly commend all of the comments that were made.
Fabulous. No, that's fantastic. And I did have a question written down about what skills or expertise do you think are important for those working in sports governance to excel? But I think we've more or less covered that. So just a very quick question, and if you could limit your answers to be a bit shorter, just so they're really like punchy takeaways. What advice would you give to someone in the early stages of their sports governance career? So, for example, if you were starting again today, how would you engage with the SGA? What would you do first? You're brand new to sports governance, maybe governance in general. How would you go about that? And as the person who did it most recently, Jess, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, I'd probably say take every opportunity that you can. I think, Sam, in what you showed there through the resources in the presentation, it's so easy to access now, so chuck yourself in and engage with every single opportunity that you can, and really utilize the network. I was lucky enough to have a mentor through the network as well when I first started, so I think using the people around you and really using the SGA to build that network and engage with it. I think the beauty with governance is that sometimes when things don't have a home, they become governance, but see that as an opportunity, and really utilize the SGA to support yourself to succeed in that.
Wow, thanks, Jess. And then yourself, Ruth?
I guess echo all that, get involved, take the opportunities that did someone say they're free as well. largely, or if not all. It's a huge resource. Jump into it, and that would be my advice. I guess the next bit is then talk about it, and talk about it with relevance to your organisation and to your colleagues, and your social media channels, and and connect, I guess, to other people. And I guess I've found as much value from actually just being able to sit in a room and articulate a problem, or help someone else with a solution that actually I get more out of it potentially than they do, which has been huge. So I guess that bit about engaging with others probably as well. On top of that, really connecting. Tim.
Wow. Thanks. And Tim.
What I'd add to that, I mean, if you're embarking on a career, just absolutely go looking for work with this stuff. Governance will be a key strand as you develop through your journey in sport, one way or another, if your career stays in this sector. And even if it doesn't, it's incredibly transferable principles that will stand you in good stead, whatever you take on. So you're adding to your CV. So I think be really curious. And if you do that, and you can get colleagues doing it, you're normalizing it. And sometimes governance can be a bit othered, and it can be kind of the end of the corridor stuff, or it can be backstop stuff, and it isn't. It's a competitive edge, and we've certainly found that commercial partners, funding partners, and other charity stakeholders have an expectation that we have a strong approach to good governance, and we're deliberate with it. So if you can get that behavior embedded into your thinking, and that can rub off on colleagues, I think that's a massive plus. You're playing a huge part there if you can do that. So yeah, get involved with it, normalize it.
Wow, thank you very much, Tim. And just from myself as well, if after all this, you've used the roadmap, you've gone on the website, and you maybe watched a recording of this, and you still go, I just don't know where to start. Go on the huddle, ask the community. I'm sure other people who've done the same will have had that, and they will go, oh, I went on this course, it was great for XYZ reasons. And if they fit you, then that's perfect. So thank you very much to our panelists. We will keep needing you, because we're going to hopefully have people asking you questions and not me. But yeah, I want to open this up to the floor and see if anyone's got any questions. Please use, if you want to ask it in person, remember it will be on the recording. So if you're not comfortable with that, please use the Q&A tool, which I'm just loading up now to have a look at. Doesn't look like there's any questions in there. But yeah, if you've got any questions, please raise your hand. About getting started in governance, or just blurt it out if you can't find the raise hand button, because I know when you've got a smaller screen that can be harder to find. I'll just check the chat. Doesn't look like there's anything showing in there. So I did have a follow-up to that question, if no one's got any questions yet. So if, let's say, oh, here we go, Craig's put one in. Oh yeah, Craig's made a great point. So if you're responsible for your board's inductional development, a really easy way to get the ball rolling is to get them registered with the SGA, even if it's not even going on a training course, even if it's just getting registered to the newsletter, because then they'll receive comms as to when courses are available, when the conference is, all of this kind of thing to get them in. And if they start enjoying it, start really finding value in it, then they're more likely to roll the ball for everyone else. But yeah, no, that's a great point. We want this to be accessible to everyone that's involved in governance in sport in the UK, which would be every board, every governance officer, every governance staff, whatever it is. I can see there is a question in the Q&A. So it can be quite intimidating knowing where to start. Do the panel have any advice on what should be the very first focus? So if you had to pick one thing to do, and from the SGA's offering, what would it be? Happy to open that up to whoever wants to go first. So if you had to do one course or go to one thing first, what would you recommend?
An easy one is go to the conference, because I guess if you're struggling, you don't know where to put yourself, then if that timing wise of that, I mean, obviously it depends on timing, depends what stage you're at, etc. But if you just take that opportunity to put yourself in that environment, it's quite varied. So you've got opportunities to there's a bit you can find out about the structured stuff. You can get straight involved in the networking kind of connections element to it as well, and you can actually listen to others as well from the presentational sense. So I'd say to cover all bases, get yourself to the conference, and then you can find your own way and work out what's right from you from there, would be my immediate, I guess, reaction, and possibly what I did to an extent as well. But sign up to the newsletters, as Craig's just said in the chat as well, and start reading around it for your own, to get a bit of direction in parallel, and then maybe it all comes together.
No, cheers, Ruth. And just a small on that as well. Unlike most conferences, our conference is free, so that may make that a more accessible option for you. And also, there's the virtual element if you are based far away from wherever the conference is going to be hosted. I don't know.
I think, it's a good shout. I would say the code for sports governance is not irrelevant here. I think we've mentioned it maybe a couple of times, but it's not the focus of this call at all. But I think it might be quite a good steer. Then intuitively, you might get a sense of the jigsaw pieces of what's perceived as a governance overview, particularly in this sector. And I know sport is a common thread, probably with everyone on the call. If you could couple that with Ruth's suggestion of conference, or maybe a couple of the sessions that you would see linked through the newsletter, you'd start to see maybe hot topics and things that you can translate to be most relevant to your organization. That will get you in. And I think from there, you'll start to maybe plot a bit of a framework on how you might approach it. It is daunting, and I can completely understand the question, but just getting a sense of that bigger picture, even though it sounds counterintuitive, I think that will give you a feel for what you can then focus on after that.
And Jess, I'll ask you in two ways. What was the first thing you engaged with the SGA? What was the first thing you did? And if you were to do it all again, what would be the first thing you engaged with, or would it be the same thing?
The first thing I engaged with was the courses. So like every single online course, from like the essential sports governance. I did the chairing masterclass, even though at the point, I wasn't chairing anything, just to, I guess, give myself as solid a foundation in the knowledge base as possible. So I think that was really, really useful for me, even if it wasn't related directly to the work that I was doing at the time. I think probably what I would do if I was to start over again, and this, like, appreciate might seem daunting, but is utilizing the huddle more for that, because I think, there's the perception you don't need to figure out where to start on your own, because there's other people who will have gone through it and figured it out in the past. So actually utilizing the huddle to say, has anybody been through this, and almost asking for that critical friend, somebody to just have a conversation so that you can articulate where you're at the moment and the thoughts that are going through your head, and just that person being able to check and challenge and potentially signpost if they've been through it. So I think I'd probably put a lot more power in conversations with people and utilizing the network, because not only will it help in the start, I guess, with that direction of travel, but then you build in the contacts of people who you can reach out to in the future as well.
And just before we go to you, Tim, I just want to notice the time. So if you do need to drop off, no problem. Thank you so much for coming along today. Please come along to our networking event in a couple of weeks. And just my answer to that question would be, if you just have to pick one thing, and I can only tell you with no context, I'd say go on Essential Sports Governance. It covers the code for sports governance, and it also covers the core principles of governance. So if you're brand new to the space and people don't know where to start, Essentials is a great place to go. Just one more thing before we go to you, Tim, as well, is I've just seen in the chat that someone's going to be sharing the roadmap with directors at next meetings and encouraging them to explore them for themselves. That would be fantastic. I'm also going to be uploading some explainer walkthrough videos on there for if someone's having issues, they're clicking the wrong places or anything like that. So those will go up as well within the next week. So if you're trying to give it your boards and they go, what do I do with this? That I will hopefully have some narrated videos for you. But Tim, back to you for those that want to hang around.
It's just a quickie, and I think it's governance can be quite complex, and that's come up maybe in the theme of the questions and perhaps the answers that we're giving. We're not trying to make it more complicated, but actively practicing to simplify a complex issue is really, really relevant to governance. And if there's any way that you can use your journey in this to practice that, I think it would be a fantastic way for you to introduce your familiarity to governance. Simplifying a complex issue is a killer skill. It's a superpower, and governance lends itself to that, I think.
Fabulous.
I'll just add a little bit on the end. It's just about the maybe framing governance in a different way, or rethinking it for some people, or helping them to do that as well is really powerful to I guess to see the relevance of it to them. The clues in the world for a lot of us on this word, and a lot of us in the call, we're national governing bodies of sport. So, you know, everyone's part of the governance the governance culture, or the governance practice in some way, where it has to be by nature of what we do. So I guess it's just a little bit for me of self-learning at points, as I know what governance means, and to me, and in rooms with people who do the same thing, but actually how can we reframe it for a CEO, for a board member, if you need to, and be able to influence upwards if you need to do that as well. So yeah, just adding that on. Sorry, Sam.
Fabulous. No, thank you, Ruth. So I'm aware of the time. So if you do have any questions, please hang on the line. At this point, before we ask those questions, if you want to ask them quietly or just with people that are on the call, whilst the whole webinar gets recorded, I will cut off the recording here. So if you do want to ask something that won't get uploaded onto our website, please feel free to hang on. But yeah, no, thank you everyone for coming. I'm sure people are probably desperate to get out in the sunshine to enjoy their lunch, as I know down here in London it's about 25+ degrees, so I know I will be doing that today. But no, thank you all for coming along. If you haven't signed up for the huddle, please do so. I know we've banged on about it, but we're really excited about it. And also, if you want to come along to our networking event, because we want to hear from you, we're going to put you in breakout rooms, run some interactive exercises with you as well. We would love to hear from you. But yeah, I'd like to thank our panel members all for coming along and supporting with this, and also for supporting with the tool with their feedback. I'd also like to thank the learning team at CGI as well, who supported me in making the tool. But yeah, thank you everyone for your discussion today. Thank you for coming along. We hope you found it useful and that this can support your boards going forward.